In the 12th chapter of the Qur'an, Allah relates what He Himself calls the best of stories. Unlike other accounts scattered across the Qur'an, the story of Yusuf is told here in one continuous, flowing narrative, from a childhood dream to its distant fulfillment. It is a story of betrayal and patience, of trial and trust, and of how a believer holds on to faith and noble character through the very hardest of times. Listen closely, for within it lie lessons for every heart. Yusuf was the young son of the Prophet Yaqub, who was the son of Ishaq, the son of Ibrahim, a household of prophethood. One night, the boy saw a remarkable vision, 11 stars and the sun and the moon, all bowing down before him. Sensing its weight, he carried it at dawn to his father. The dreams of the prophets are true, and Yaqub listened closely, for he knew that Allah sometimes speaks to the righteous through what they are shown in sleep. Yaqub understood at once that this vision pointed to a great future for his son, but also that it could stir danger close to home. "O my son," he said, "do not relate your vision to your brothers, lest they devise a plan against you. Indeed, Shaitan is to man a clear enemy." It was wise counsel. Not every blessing should be announced, for envy can turn even brothers into rivals. Yaqub chose to protect the boy rather than to boast of him. Yaqub sensed that Allah had chosen this child. "Thus will your Lord choose you," he told him, "and teach you the interpretation of dreams, and complete his favor upon you and upon the family of Yaqub, as he completed it upon your forefathers before, Ibrahim and Ishaq." The path ahead would not be easy, but the favor of Allah does not arrive all at once. It unfolds slowly, often through hardship, until its full meaning becomes clear only at the end. Yusuf had 10 older brothers and a younger one named Binyamin. The older brothers watched their father's tender love for the 2 youngest, and instead of joy, they felt resentment. "Yusuf and his brother are dearer to our father than we," they said, "though we are a strong band. Surely our father is in clear error." Notice how envy distorts the heart. It took a father's natural affection and twisted it into a grievance. Unchecked, that small bitterness would soon grow into something terrible. So the brothers conspired. "Kill Yusuf," said one, "or cast him out to some distant land, and your father's attention will be yours alone, and afterwards you can become righteous people." Hear the strange logic of sin. They planned a grave wrong, while already promising themselves they would repent later. It is the oldest deception of the soul, to imagine that we can do evil now and simply set it right whenever we please. One of them recoiled from murder. "Do not kill Yusuf," he urged. "If you must act, cast him into the bottom of a well, and some passing caravan will pick him up." Even among those bent on wrong, a single voice of restraint can change everything. And by Allah's mercy, that restraint would become the very means of Yusuf's survival. What they intended as the end of him, Allah would make the beginning of his rise. The next morning they came to their father wearing their warmest smiles. "Father, why will you not trust us with Yusuf, when we are sincere advisors to him? Send him with us tomorrow, that he may enjoy himself and play, and we will surely guard him well." How easily kind words can hide cold intentions. They spoke of care and play, while in their hearts they carried a plan, and Yaqub, who loved them all, was left to weigh his unease against their pleading. "It grieves me that you should take him away," Yaqub said, "and I fear that a wolf may devour him while you are heedless of him." His words were almost prophetic, for a wolf would indeed be blamed, though no wolf was ever there. Still, he relented and let his beloved son go. Sometimes the trials decreed for us pass through the hands of those closest to, and even a wise and patient prophet was not spared this sorrow. They took him out into the wilderness, and together they lowered him into the dark of the well. Imagine the boy at the bottom, alone, frightened, abandoned by his own brothers. Yet it was in that very moment that Allah comforted him, revealing to him, "One day you will remind them of this deed, while they will not even realize who you are." Where the brothers saw an ending, Allah had planted a promise. The darkness of the well was not the end of the story. only its hidden beginning. When night fell, the brothers came back to their father, weeping. They had rehearsed their grief carefully, arranging their faces into sorrow. But there is a difference between tears that flow from the heart and tears that are performed, and a father who knew his sons could feel that something was wrong long before a single word was spoken. The empty place at his side spoke louder than all their crying. "Father," they said, "we went off racing with one another and left Yusuf to guard our belongings, and a wolf devoured him." Then, sensing his doubt, they added a clever line, "But you will never believe us, even though we are telling the truth." Liars often accuse others of doubting them, hoping to seem wronged. Yet truth has a weight that falsehood cannot imitate, and Yaqub was not deceived for a moment. They brought his shirt stained with false blood, but Yaqub noticed what their grief had overlooked. The shirt was untorn. What wolf devours a child yet leaves his garment whole? He saw through the deceit, yet he did not rage or despair. "No," he said, "your souls have enticed you to something. So patience is most fitting, and it is Allah whose help is sought against what you describe. This is Sabrun Jamil, a beautiful patience, grief without complaint, and trust that turns not to people, but to Allah alone." Then, just as the lone brother had foretold, a caravan came traveling through. They sent their water drawer to the well, and he let down his bucket, and to his astonishment, found a boy clinging to the rope. "Good news," he cried. "Here is a boy." They concealed him, intending to sell him as merchandise, and Allah was fully aware of all that they did. Step by step, what looked like a chain of accidents was the careful unfolding of a divine plan. They sold him for a paltry price, only a few counted coins of silver, for they thought him of little value and were eager to be rid of him. And so the son of a prophet, a boy destined for honor, was carried away in a stranger's caravan, treated as cheap merchandise. How often the world misjudges worth. What men priced at a handful of coins, Allah was raising toward a station that kings would one day seek. The caravan reached Egypt, and there a man of high rank, the one the Qur'an calls al-Aziz, bought him. He said to his wife, "Make his stay honorable. Perhaps he will benefit us, or we may take him as a son." And so, says the Qur'an, we established Yusuf in the land, that we might teach him the interpretation of events. The same boy thrown away by his family was now welcomed into a great house. Allah does not abandon those who are wronged. He prepares for them a place. And when Yusuf reached the full strength of manhood, Allah granted him sound judgment and knowledge. And thus, the Qur'an says, do we reward those who do good. He did not become bitter at his suffering, nor did comfort make him heedless. Through every change of fortune, he held to his character. This is the quiet reward of the righteous, that Allah ripens within them wisdom and understanding, long before the world ever recognizes their worth. From a beloved son to the bottom of a well, from a forgotten captive to the household of a nobleman, already we have seen how Allah weaves ease through the heart of hardship. Yet Yusuf's greatest test still lay ahead, in the very house that had taken him in, a test not of suffering but of temptation, and of the strength to choose Allah over desire. We will follow that trial in the next part by the will of Allah, subhanallah. In the first part, we followed Yusuf from his father's love, through his brother's betrayal, into a well, and onward to the household of a nobleman in Egypt. Allah had granted him beauty, wisdom, and knowledge. But the next trial would not come through suffering. It would come through temptation, in the comfort of that very house. And often, the hardest test of faith is not hardship, but ease. The mistress of the house, in whose care he lived, desired him, and one day she closed the doors and called him to herself. But Yusuf answered with the words of a God-conscious heart, "I seek refuge in Allah. Indeed, your husband is my master, who has treated me honorably. The wrongdoers never succeed." In a private moment, with no human watching, his first thought was not of desire, nor of consequence, but of his Lord. The Qur'an tells us he was drawn as any human would be, but that he saw the clear proof of his Lord and turned away. Thus, says Allah, we averted from him evil and immorality. Indeed, he was of our chosen, sincere servants. This is the lesson at the heart of the scene. Yusuf was not free of desire. He was strengthened against it. Sincerity toward Allah was the shield that kept him. Yusuf fled toward the door to escape, and she rushed after him, tearing his shirt from behind. At the door they met her husband. In an instant she turned accuser, asking, "What is the punishment for one who intended evil against your wife, except prison or a painful torment?" How quickly the wrongdoer sought to bury the truth and to make the innocent appear guilty. Yusuf said simply, "It was she who sought to seduce me." Then a wise member of her own household offered a test. If his shirt is torn from the front, she is truthful and he has lied. But if it is torn from the back, then she has lied and he is truthful. Truth, when patiently left to Allah, has a way of revealing itself through the smallest of signs. The shirt was torn from behind, proof that Yusuf had fled and she had pursued. Her husband saw the truth. "This is of the scheming of you women. Your scheming is great." Then he said, "Yusuf, turn away from this, and you, ask forgiveness for your sin." Yet even with the truth laid bare, the powerful chose to quiet the matter rather than to do justice. But word slipped out, and the women of the city began to talk. "The wife of the Aziz seeks to seduce her servant," they murmured. "He has filled her with love. We see her in clear error." She heard their mockery, and rather than feel shame, she devised a way to prove that any heart would have faltered as hers did. So she invited the women to a banquet, gave each a knife and some fruit, and called Yusuf to appear before them. When they saw him, they were so overcome that they cut their own hands and exclaimed, "Allah be perfect. This is no mortal. This is but a noble angel." She had made her point, that his beauty could disarm anyone. Yet beauty was never Yusuf's trial. Obedience to Allah was. She threatened him openly. If he would not obey, he would be imprisoned and disgraced. And here Yusuf made his choice. He turned to Allah and prayed, "My Lord, prison is dearer to me than what they call me to. And if you do not turn their plot away from me, I may incline toward them and become ignorant." He preferred the walls of a prison with his faith intact over a palace bought with disobedience. So his Lord answered him and turned their plot away from him. Indeed, he is the all-hearing, the all-knowing. Notice that Allah responded to the one who chose him, yet the response came in the form of prison. Allah's help does not always remove the hardship. Sometimes it carries us through it, with our faith preserved. To Yusuf, that was the truest rescue of all. 2 young men entered the prison with him. Each had seen a dream that troubled him. One dreamed he was pressing wine, the other that he carried bread upon his head from which birds were eating. They came to Yusuf, saying, "Tell us their meaning. We see that you are a man of excellence." Even behind bars, his character was so evident that strangers turned to him for wisdom. But before interpreting their dreams, Yusuf seized the moment to call them to what mattered most. He spoke of the faith of his fathers, Ibrahim, Ishaq, and Yaqub, and asked them gently, "Are many different lords better, or Allah, the one, the prevailing? Judgment belongs only to Allah. He has commanded that you worship none but Him." A true believer does not wait for ease to invite others to good. He does it even in chains. Then he told them, "As for one of you, he will serve wine to his master. As for the other, he will be crucified, and birds will eat from his head. The matter about which you ask has been decreed." He delivered even the hard news with honesty and gentleness, never softening the truth, yet never harsh in giving it. To the one he knew would be freed, Yusuf said, "Mention me to your master." But Shaitan made him forget to mention Yusuf, and so he remained in prison several more years. Even prophets experienced delay. Yusuf had placed a hope in a man's memory and was left waiting. Often Allah lets our means fail us, so that we learn to lean on Him alone, and so His timing, not ours, is fulfilled. Years later, the king of Egypt himself saw a strange dream: 7 fat cows devoured by 7 lean ones, and 7 green ears of grain besides 7 that were dry. Troubled, he gathered his chiefs and advisers and asked them to explain it. But they answered, "These are confused dreams, and we are not learned in the interpretation of dreams." The wisdom of palaces fell silent before the vision. Then at last the cupbearer remembered. The man Yusuf had asked to recall him, now freed and standing in the king's court. "I will tell you its interpretation," he said, "so send me forth." He hurried to the prison and called out, "Yusuf, O man of truth, explain to us the 7 fat cows eaten by 7 lean and the 7 green ears and 7 dry." After all those years, Yusuf's moment had quietly arrived. Yusuf interpreted it with the clarity of one taught by Allah. "You will plant for 7 years as usual. Then whatever you harvest, leave it in its ears, except a little that you eat. After that will come 7 hard years that will consume what you stored for them, except a little you preserve. Then will come a year of rain, in which people will be relieved, and in which they will press oil and juice." It was not only an interpretation, it was a plan to save a nation. Amazed, the king summoned him. But Yusuf, though he had every reason to rush from prison, first asked that his name be cleared, asked the women who cut their hands what they intended. When questioned, they confessed his innocence, and the wife of the Aziz admitted at last, "Now the truth has become evident. It was I who tried to seduce him, and he is surely among the truthful." He would not accept honor while a stain of false accusation remained. Even vindicated, Yusuf spoke not with pride but with humility. "I do not absolve myself. Indeed, the soul is ever inclined to evil, except those upon whom my Lord has mercy. Truly, my Lord is forgiving and merciful." The one proven innocent reminds us that none of us is safe from our own self, and that it is the mercy of Allah, not our own strength, that keeps us upright. The king honored him and gave him a place of trust. Yusuf asked to be set over the storehouses of the land, saying, "I am a knowing guardian," for he sought authority not for its glory, but to serve the people through the famine to come. And thus, says Allah, we established Yusuf in the land, to settle therein wherever he willed. We touch with our mercy whom we will, and we do not let the reward of the doers of good be lost. From the bottom of a well to the storehouses of Egypt, the promise was unfolding. In the next part, the brothers who began it all return. Subhanallah. Years passed, and the 7 years of plenty gave way to famine, just as Yusuf had foretold. The hunger spread far beyond Egypt, reaching the land of Canaan, where his father and brothers still lived. And so the very brothers who had cast him into the well set out for Egypt, seeking food from the wise minister in charge of its storehouses, never imagining who he was. They entered upon him, and he knew them at once, but they did not know him. The boy they had wronged was now a man of power before whom they bowed. Yet Yusuf revealed nothing. He received them with courtesy, gave them their full measure of grain, and listened as they spoke of the family they had left behind. When he had given them their provisions, he said, "Bring me a brother of yours from your father. Do you not see that I give full measure, and that I am the best of hosts? But if you do not bring him, there will be no measure for you with me, nor shall you come near." He longed to see his young brother Binyamin, and to test the hearts of the rest. Then Yusuf told his servants to place the brothers' trade goods back into their saddlebags, without their knowing, so that they would find them on returning home, and perhaps be moved to come back. It was the quiet generosity of a heart that, even toward those who had wronged him, sought reunion rather than revenge. Home in Canaan, they told their father he must send Binyamin, or they would be refused grain. The request reopened an old wound. "Shall I entrust him to you?" Yaqub said, "as I entrusted his brother to you before? But Allah is the best guardian, and he is the most merciful of the merciful." His grief over Yusuf had never left him. When they opened their bags and found their goods returned to them, they pressed their father again, and at last he relented, but only on a covenant. "I will not send him with you," he said, "until you give me a solemn pledge by Allah that you will bring him back to me, unless you are utterly overcome." And when they had given their oath, he said, "Allah is witness over what we say." As they set out, Yaqub gave a careful word. "O my sons, do not enter by one gate, but enter by separate gates. Yet I cannot avail you against Allah in anything. Judgment belongs only to Allah. Upon him I rely, and upon him let the reliant rely." He took the means, then placed his trust where it truly belonged, in Allah alone. When they returned with Binyamin, Yusuf drew his young brother aside in private, and could hold back no longer. "Indeed, I am your brother," he told him, "so do not grieve over what they used to do." After all the years of separation, the two sons of one mother were together again, though the secret was not yet ready to be told to the rest. Then, by Allah's plan, Yusuf devised a way to keep his brother with him. As the brothers' bags were loaded, he had the king's measuring cup placed in Binyamin's pack. When the caravan set off, a crier called out behind them, "O travelers, you are surely thieves." The brothers turned back, astonished, certain of their innocence. "What is the penalty?" they were asked, "if you are lying?" By their own law, they answered, "The one in whose bag it is found shall himself be held as recompense." So the bags were searched, one by one, and the cup was brought out of Binyamin's bag. "Thus did we plan for Yusuf," says the Qur'an, "for under the king's law he could not have kept his brother otherwise. Allah raises whom he wills in degrees of knowledge." Now the brothers were bound by their oath to their father. They pleaded, "O minister, he has a father, an aged old man, so take one of us in his place. We see that you are among those who do good." But Yusuf answered, "Allah forbid that we take anyone but the one with whom we found our property. We would then be wrongdoers." He held to justice, even as his plan unfolded. When they despaired of changing his mind, they withdrew to confer in private. The eldest reminded them of the binding oath they had given their father, and of how they had once failed him with Yusuf. "I will not leave this land," he said, "until my father permits me, or Allah decides for me, and he is the best of judges." So he stayed behind, while the others returned to break the news. When they told Yaqub, the old wound deepened into fresh grief. "Rather," he said, "your souls have enticed you to something, so beautiful patience." He turned away from them and cried, "Oh, my sorrow over Yusuf," and his eyes turned white from the grief he kept suppressed. Two sons lost now, and still he did not complain to people. He carried his sorrow to Allah alone. Yet even now Yaqub did not lose hope. "O my sons," he said, "go and seek news of Yusuf and his brother, and do not despair of the mercy of Allah. Indeed, no one despairs of the mercy of Allah except the disbelieving people." Here is the heart of the story. A believer may grieve, may wait for years, but he never gives up on his Lord. So the brothers returned to Egypt a final time, humbled and in need. They stood before the minister and said, "O minister, hardship has touched us and our family, and we have brought only meager goods. So give us full measure, and be charitable to us. Indeed, Allah rewards the charitable." The proud men who once schemed now stood as beggars before the brother they had wronged. Moved at last, Yusuf could hold the secret no longer. "Do you know," he asked, "what you did to Yusuf and his brother when you were ignorant?" They froze. "Are you indeed Yusuf?" He said, "I am Yusuf, and this is my brother. Allah has certainly favored us. Indeed, whoever fears Allah and is patient, then Allah does not let the reward of the doers of good be lost." They confessed, ashamed, "By Allah, Allah has certainly preferred you over us, and we have been sinners." And here Yusuf spoke the words that crown the whole story, words of mercy where vengeance would have been easy. "No blame upon you today. May Allah forgive you, and He is the most merciful of the merciful." He chose forgiveness, fully and freely, and asked Allah's pardon for those who had wronged him. Then Yusuf said, "Take this shirt of mine and cast it over my father's face. His sight will return. And bring me all your family." And as the caravan left Egypt, Yaqub, far away, said, "I sense the scent of Yusuf." When the bearer of glad tidings arrived and cast the shirt over his face, his sight returned. Did I not tell you, he said, that I know from Allah what you do not know? The whole family journeyed to Egypt, and Yusuf raised his parents upon the throne beside him, and they fell down before him in prostration of honor. "O my father," he said, "this is the interpretation of my dream from before. My Lord has made it true. The 11 stars, the sun and the moon, the vision of a boy in a tent so many years and trials ago had at last come to pass, exactly as Allah decreed." And Yusuf turned, not to boast of his power, but to thank his Lord. "My Lord, you have given me authority and taught me the interpretation of dreams. Creator of the heavens and the earth, you are my protector in this world and the next. Cause me to die a Muslim and join me with the righteous." From the bottom of a well to the throne of Egypt, patience, honesty, and forgiveness, rewarded by Allah. And so we come to the end of the best of stories. Yusuf was wronged, yet he forgave. He was tested, yet he trusted. He was given power, yet he remained humble and grateful. Through betrayal, slavery, false accusation, and prison, Allah was raising him all along, and in the end, he fulfilled his promise. For Allah never lets the reward of those who do good be lost. Subhanallah, and all praise belongs to him.